We're here today on Country Pocket with Lily Talmers. The album is It's Cyclical Missing You. You describe missing someone as floating in a black ocean at the beginning of the album. Who are you missing, Lily?
Oh my gosh, what an intro question. Who am I missing? I don't know. I think often it's not one person. I feel like often it's like carrying the memory of missing as like an anticipatory thing, you know? Um, yeah. Does that make sense?
Not quite.
Right.
Uh,
Um,
the memory of missing. So, who have you missed?
yeah. Who have I missed? Um, yeah. I think a lot of the record is thinking about Um, honestly, processing my relationships in college. I think missing people with whom I had like a stable life at one time and knowing that it can shift on a dime really quickly. So it's both speaking to romantic relationships, I think, and also just like the network of people that you have 1 minute and then is gone the next when you sort of shift lifestyles.
All right. So, um, I guess where I wanted to go with this is you talk in one of your songs about the battle between loving someone and wishing you could love them more, and the memory of how imperfect that relationship was, how
Mhm.
much pain it could actually cause you. When you're missing someone, how are you balancing that sorrow and longing and also that little bit of resentment?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So much of how I write about that is informed by I'm a teacher, but at this funny program that takes place for like 2 months out of the year and it's really intensive. It's like a college literature program. And having gone through the cycle of teaching in this really intense way and then closing it off, um, yeah, I think I've learned how it feels in retrospect to feel like you sort of could have done a better job um, at being present to someone. And then in the moment, just knowing that it's like really radical, the call to just like be present with people and be loving while you can. I sort of forget the initial question. These are hard-hitting emotional inquiries.
Well, it was a hard-hitting emotional album, really
Absolutely. Yeah.
goes down some rabbit holes on the theme.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to explore them with you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about sort of the battle between missing something and knowing that it wasn't perfect.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's a hard thing. I feel like this comes up a lot in songwriting because you can you can sort of indulge on either end. You can choose to like repress the pain of like longing for or just of memory by like assuming that something was all bad, or you can sort of idealize it and allow yourself to indulge that way, um, by like forgetting the bad parts of it. And I feel like as I've grown as a songwriter, I'm trying, I feel like good writing like takes responsibility in a bigger way. I think there's a lot of writing that's like just projecting blame onto different parties, and that's the sort of emotional That's the main emotional feature is like, yeah, um, grieving something or being upset at something, but not like fully revealing your own responsibility. So yeah, I think it's so important to remember both sides. Like there's almost a neutrality to it that feels important to maintain.
Read my lips, you don't miss anyone at all.
Mm.
Um, that is not maintaining that neutrality.
Oh, totally, totally.
I feel like when you said it, it is something you wish could happen, but maybe not necessarily something that's actually happening.
Yeah, totally. I think when I wrote it, that was the case. Um, and I think it's like a call towards just the like wanting to be responsible for like living in gratitude for my present without like launching back into a different moment of longing or loss or whatever. And now when I sing it, it's from a very different place and it definitely feels more like extending to the audience the call to have that sort of like talk with yourself, which is a cool, like different type of embodiment. It's a little bit easier.
Is it fair to ask people that though? Is it fair to ask yourself, don't miss someone you miss? Like, can you suppress that emotion and have it wind up being a healthy thing?
Oh, yeah, that's hard. I mean, I think it's definitely different by every case, but I do think I found in my emotional life that I wind up using certain relationships or certain situations as like a metaphor or container for like all kinds of other complicated emotions. So like the loss of a romantic relationship is a really easy it's just an easy container for a lot more complex emotions maybe that you're hiding. You know what I mean? Like you can just um yeah, feeling like you're lamenting this one thing when actually there are so many different compounding features of your life that are worth paying attention to.
You can do whatever you want to. Um, there's this American dream of moving up in the world, and you manage to tell that story in a way that sounds like both a nightmare and a fantasy at once.
Mm.
And sometimes that applies to the person trying to move up, and sometimes that applies to the people around them. How did you manage to capture so many aspects of this issue only speaking to one person?
Yeah, interesting. I think if I'm remembering correctly, that tune I had recently listened to like a podcast about the funeral industry and the way that um like it's just sort of cruel the way that at the end of people's lives we like stick their families with all these like crazy expenses and we plug bodies with a lot of chemicals and we act as though we have to do this as some sort of funeral in order for people to like be dead with dignity. Um yeah, and I think I think I don't know, being an American is a crazy thing full of a lot of like wild paradoxes and I think a lot of people that I love really subscribe to the reasoning of this country and don't like feel grief over a lot of the things I do. So it's somewhat it makes sense to me to communicate in a way that's a little bit passive aggressive, like including people who think that way in how I'm articulating an idea.
Yeah, a little bit passive aggressive, but just sort of nails what's going on. Um, no, I I really appreciate that one. You talk about how as long as everything is sort of okay enough around us,
Hmm.
uh, people can just do what they want. Um, would it be better if things were less okay and we had to monitor our behavior a little more?
I mean, I think we're asking ourselves that question right now. As you know, it's I we're truly finding out the answer in real time. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also live in Brooklyn, New York, and I grew up like in a suburb outside of Detroit and the Midwest is just a very different place. So I think in my adult life, there's been a huge growth in consciousness of like class consciousness, race consciousness, like just seeing the full spectrum of people enacting what they want to do or what they think they want to do. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're definitely witnessing in New York like a huge upswing in like police presence. It feels really palpable. Felt, I felt like shared outrage sort of as a response, but I haven't felt as much the call to care being answered. So I don't know. I hope that that is going to start happening, but I'm not really sure.
Um, you talk about dealing with men in this album.
Mhm.
Um, you talk about even dating men who might see this particular song as the American dream. Like, yeah, let's do this. How do you deal with trying to love these people?
Oh, interesting. You mean you're referring to like the second verse of that song?
I'm referring to Man of Stone.
Oh, Man of Stone. Yes. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think that is a crazy calling. I think it's the same question that like I don't know, people of color have to answer in relation to white people like how do you love someone who you really feel like you need to put so much work into educating about how to love you back because they're so um sort of don't have the tools to even begin to try. And I think there's like record of this in my songwriting. I oscillate between like martyrdom and uh and just like full generosity to that cause and feeling like I should like give myself fully to it and then like real anger and frustration. And I think that song in particular is is more on the martyrdom side, I guess, of just I or maybe not martyrdom. I don't know. Maybe it's a more healthy middle place of engaging really compassionately with uh like someone who can't who just doesn't have the tools to open up and doesn't realize how it's impacting the people around them and being in the dance of like asking that person to open up and and try to engage with themselves so that they can love other people.
You think we'd be in a better place, societally, if more people knew how to love other people properly?
Oh, I mean, I don't even know if I can claim to know how to love other people properly. I think we would be in a much better place if people thought that that was like a metric of importance. You know what I mean? I feel like we're pretty hyper saturated with like just looking like you're doing okay and like making money. Those are sort of the highest priority items. Um, so yeah, I definitely do think that, but I think yeah, people are resistant, I think, to the like even the language of love and like what sort of responsibility that entails. Like I see it, I don't know, in like workplaces and stuff. Like even really good workplaces, I've experienced sometimes have a resistance to love as a word that encapsulates what our responsibility like to your coworkers are, or to different to people that are not like obvious, like your family or your romantic partners. I think people are like pretty resistant to thinking in terms of that language of love and care that is like real and entails responsibility. Yeah. So I definitely I'm pro that sort of language. I'm I'm pro hyper responsibility for one another.
Beautifully put. We're going to hear You Can Do Whatever You Want to, and then we'll be right back.